Hi there, and welcome to this short practice on centering. By center, I mean returning to a sense of trust and balance that lives within inside of ourselves and being able to show up in our relationships in alignment with our deeper values and passions that come from that center, right? When we're able to be in that space, we're able to be more responsive rather than reactive. We can have more perspective and compassion for our work, our relationships, and how we engage in the world. Now, some of us are starting already from a pretty solid foundation of being centered in self, and that's great. But others of us are just starting to cultivate and develop that sense within, and that's also great. However, you need to use this practice today, whether it's a remembrance or learning kind of new ways to attend and turn inward, do it. However, you're showing up is absolutely okay. Great. You can do this seated, you can do this standing. I'm going to do this standing. And if you are, take the feet, just under hip distance apart. If you're seated, make sure you're in the front part of your seat, lifting up onto the sitting bones. Okay. And just let the body kind of shake out a little bit. It might need to stretch or move, right? Always taking a moment at the beginning of any practice that you do to listen to the intuitive intuitive needs of what's happening from inside. Mhm. And now paying attention to whatever it is that's supporting you. So I'm noticing the feet on the ground, right? Shifting weight a little bit back and forth may be helpful. Uh-huh. And now see if you can imagine where your center is. And I want you actually to bring in a visualization of a thread, maybe a thread coming from above the head that goes right through the middle of you. Thread of light, energy, whatever you want to envision, but it goes right through the middle of you all the way down into the earth. And just sense where that midline would be. Okay, now we're going to move forward away from that midline or imagine that and just notice what happens with the body. Uh-huh. Don't go so far you're going to fall, but notice also that your body probably catches you. What muscles are working or not. And then come back through that midline and bring the weight more into your heels. And as you do that, pay attention to what muscles collect and support you from falling without even thinking about it. And then there's another part that's not really working much. There might be compression, pinching. We'll do that one more time. Shift through the center line forward, right? Almost you're going to fall, but don't. Uh-huh. And notice how much energy it takes to keep you up when you're not in the middle. And one more time to the back. Sense where the joints are in relation to each other, like the head and the shoulders in relation to the hip. What's really working, what's not. And now find the middle. Find the middle where there's not a lot of effort. My dear friends and colleagues, Irene Lyon calls this the potent posture. See if you can find that potent posture where there's not a lot of energy to be upright, having the joints stacked on top. Notice what that's like to kind of be with the idea of balance. And now we're going to play with just a little bit more subtlety. Notice where you're looking, where that gaze is. It might be at the screen or a little bit above. And now just micro shifts. Allow the gaze to shift up ever so slightly and pause, and then shift up a little more. And we're tracking the internal sensory response. There might be tingling. You might notice your heart rate going up. There might be a sense of expansion and like, wow, there's more energy. There might not. There might be a sense of like, this is too much. But just notice that as you're standing on the feet. And let even the chest area shift up with it. Okay, great. Now the eyes are going to come back to neutral. And track that response inside. Expanding, releasing, settling a heaviness. And let's take the eyes down through its midline a little lower and track that internal experience as well. What's the breath like as you do this? Is there an emotional tone that starts to come up? I often think of a volume knob on the energy within as I take different shapes and let my gaze be in different places. Now let the gaze return to where it is most enjoyable, most where there's possibility, but not too much so it's overwhelming, where there's calm, but not so much that you want to collapse. Yeah. The eyes are the front part of the brain. It's the front part of the nervous system. The whole upper body and chest area has millions of neural pathways that help our nervous system decide what's safe and what's not. Being able to attune to even where you look can give you more capacity and control over your own regulation. Okay, and check out your breath. We're going to move with the breath a little bit. So the shoulders will roll forward, up, back, and down. Let's do that 2 more times. Just forward, up, back, and down. These don't have to be particularly big or small. Just kind of reminding the system, the shoulders, that you can be flexible enough to move. Great. We're going to sweep the arms forward. Take them as high as is comfortable for the shoulders and the energy today, and then just draw a circle around yourself. Within this circle, you might extend the intention of just compassion to whatever arises for you. But a circle of protection, acceptance, support around you. Nice. Now the arms are going to come up and again to whatever height, even if it's just to head, and twist over to your right. And let the arms go down. Inhale, bring the torso, the gaze back to the center. When your exhale happens, twist to your left. I'm bending my knees a little bit here also to connect with the rhythm of the breath. If that works for you, go ahead. And my breath might be too short or too long for you. You do you. Don't worry about the length that I'm moving. Just twisting on the exhale. Noticing where your gaze is. How is the length of your spine? And this time, bringing the hands down onto the legs. We're going to separate the legs a little wider apart, about shoulder distance apart. Notice my arms are going to be straight. I'll turn to the side so you can see me a bit better. On the in-breath, go ahead and let the front body have a bit more room. The hips are going to reach back. On the out-breath, the hips curl under, chin into the chest, and your belly button goes back towards the spine, squeezing it a bit. Let's do that a few more times. Breathing in, let there be space. Do this as big or as small as you want. Breathing out, contracting a bit more. If you've eaten, be very gentle. This is a nice smooth movement for the spinal column. If you haven't eaten, you might really want to emphasize the exhale, drawing the belly muscles in, squeezing the stomach, squeezing the solar plexus, squeezing even the tissue around your kidneys and your adrenal glands. 2 more times. This center of our body is what digests, this area is what digests everything we put into it, whether it's nourishment or poison, right? And so bringing more circulation and blood flow to this space is so important to remember who we are. Last one, you might hold an extra beat or so on the exhale. This is also the area where a lot of the serotonin in our body is actually produced, those feel-good hormones. Inhale. We want to create more flexibility and circulation around that space. Okay. And so now coming back up, I'm going to test the balance just a little bit. I want you to steady the gaze on one point in front of you. Okay. With that gaze steady, maybe the hands on the hips, step one foot in front of the other. It doesn't matter which, but really bring toes to heels, heels to toes. Okay. And remember, you can use a wall, you can use some furniture around you, no problem. Now shift the weight back and forth a little bit and evenly distribute the weight now between the front and the back. So you're not just standing in the back leg. That's it. Let the shoulders be on the back and the spine just be as long as it can be. I'm always amazed at how challenging standing on 2 feet can be at times. Now I'm going to suggest you take long blinks with your eyes, just testing the balance. Of course, there's going to be wobbling. Of course, there's going to be shifting. Can that be okay today? Can we just create some acceptance? Now, as you steady the gaze and notice your inner experience, close the eyes for maybe 3 to 5 seconds. Keep breathing though. Keep breathing. If you fall over, the ground is right there. Nice. And let the eyes open. Come on back to center. Whew. Let's do it on the other leg. Falling has got a bad rap, but we need to do it in order to grow, in order to evolve, right? And how to create some acceptance and non-judgmental space around it rather than shame or any of the other muck that we take in. And so shifting the weight, of course, back foot to front foot. And now stand in both feet as best you can, steadying the gaze, and see if you can sense now that same thread that we started with just coming through the middle of you. Grow a little longer in both directions around that thread. Let the eyes take their long blinks, testing the waters of balance, testing the waters of imbalance. It's okay if you're wobbly, and it's okay if you're balanced. And then long hold here with maybe the eyes closed. See if you continue to breathe, even as you test the potential little fear that comes up with balance. And letting the eyes open. Great. Coming back to the center. Okay. Yeah. See where you are in space, where your mind is, where your heart is. Notice if there's a location inside right now that kind of holds your center a bit more. We're going to take this last part down into a seated position. You can still remain standing if you like, no problem, but it's also kind of nice to have the option of earth being a little bit closer. Yeah. So when you're ready, come on down. Now, make yourself comfortable. Okay? I'm going to suggest sitting up onto either a pillow or a blanket or maybe both, right, to give yourself a little bit more room, right, in your low back. So just making sure the hips are a little higher than the knees in whatever sitting position you've chosen. And then again, make some connection with the floor in this new shape, orientation of the body. And for this next part, you are welcome to have the eyes open or closed, but we're just going to be sitting up and again, bring that image of the thread back in, allowing your spine, your torso to kind of organize around that in an uprighted, dignified shape. And just notice the breath and let it go out. Let it extend out a little further than usual. And nice and slow, like maybe a 4 or a 6 count on the in-breath. So through the nose if possible. Exhaling out a 4 or a 6 count. I'm going to do that 2 more times, nice and simple. You might even visualize the air coming in through both nostrils and then leaving out again. Just smoothing out the breath. Slowing it down a little bit, 4 or 6 counts, no pressure. Four or 6 counts. Okay, now just imagine breathing in through your left nostril. Just breathe in through left. Of course, that's kind of impossible, but visualize that or imagine it. And breathe out through left. We'll do that one more time on this side. Just breathe in through left. Comes in through the nostrils, it goes to the center of the brain, fills up the ribs, and breathing out. Nice. And now shift your awareness to your right nostril and let the breath come in through the right nostril and back out. One more time. In through the right nostril. And back out. Now, if the eyes are closed, let them open for just a moment. Bring your attention to your right hand. Bring the right thumb to the right nostril. Bring the right ring finger to the left nostril. Your first and middle go right into the palm. Okay, so thumb to the right, ring finger to the left. The practice of alternate nostril breathing, research has shown that the bilateral activation via the breath of the right and left hemispheres of the brain actually bring our nervous system into a calmer, more receptive state. We'll do this a few times. Once you get the hang of it, let the eyes close and just focus inward. Okay, so we'll take a normal inhale, exhale. Allow the breath to be smooth and even and go at your own pace through this whole thing. Close the right nostril, breathing in through the left. At the top, without force, close the left, open the right. Slowly, smoothly let it out. At the bottom, let the breath come back in through the right. At the top, no pressure, take your time. Close the right, open the left, let it out. That's one round. We'll do two more. Inhale through the left. At the top, close the left, open the right. Nice, smooth, comfortable exhale. At the bottom, let the breath come back in through the right. Allow the spine to be long. Close the right nostril, open left, exhale. If you can, let the mind focus on the breath. Inhaling through left. Close at the top, open right. It's only this breath. It's only this exhale. The bottom, let the breath come in through the right. Watching the full cycle. Honing the capacity of the mind. Closing the right, open left, exhale. If you'd like to keep going, feel free to do that on your own. Otherwise, release the hands somewhere to the left. Take a full breath in through both nostrils. A smooth, calming breath on the exhale. Now, you might consider bringing your hands to just gently make connection with you. Maybe a hand on heart or hand on belly. Some of us might have two hands on the heart. Whatever allows you to kind of tune in towards your beingness, the center of your beingness. Feel free to let the eyes close or soften and just sense this connection, hopefully this tender, this gentle, this attending connection of your own hands on the body somewhere. You might just even be holding your hands together. But as you tune into the center of your beingness, notice if there's any sort of felt sense that goes along with it. Any quality of expanding or settling. There might be a sense of color or the image of those you consider to be guides, spiritual beings, aspects of nature that come into this as well. Nothing might be here besides just the connection of your hands, and that's okay too. Stay curious, stay tuned into this. Now consider allowing the compassion of your hands, the compassion of any of the images or other aspects that are with you to communicate some kindness, some remembrance, maybe with the words, "You are enough. You are loved. You are okay." It might be as simple as, "I've got you." And those are my words, not yours. So if something else comes to mind, go with that. And paying attention to what it's like to hear that. You might not fully believe it yet, and that's okay. but just let that be heard and sense what your body does in response to it. We all need remembrance. Stay with this as long as you need today. Bring it in as often as you need today. But when you are ready, we'll bring the palms together and just taking a breath in and out. And I bow to the lightness of your being. Thank you for being here.